The strangling of Archibald Dudley Abernethy was the first scene in a 9-act tragedy whose locale was the city of New York, which misbehaved. 7.5 million persons inhabiting an area of over 300 square miles lost their multiple heads all at once. The storm center of the phenomenon was Manhattan, that Gotham which, as the New York Times pointed out during the worst of it, had been inspired by a legendary English village whose inhabitants were noted for their foolishness. It was not an entirely happy illusion, for there was nothing jocular in the reality. The panic seizure caused far more fatalities than the cat. There were numerous injured, and what traumata were suffered by the children of the city, infected by the bogey fears of their elders, will not be comprehended until the psychiatrists can pry into the neuroses of the next generation. In the small area of agreement in which the scientists met afterward, several specific indictments were drawn. One charged the newspapers. Certainly the New York press cannot disclaim some responsibility for what happened. The defense that we give John Public the news as it happens, how it happens, and for as long as it happens, as the editor of the New York Extra put it, is plausible, but fails to explain why John Public had to be given the news of the cat's activities in such necrotic detail, embellished by such a riches of cartoonical crepe and obituary embroidery. The object of this elaborate treatment was, of course, to sell more newspapers, an object which succeeded so admirably that, as one circulation manager privately admitted, "We really panicked 'em." Radio was named co-defendant. Those same networks which uttered approving sounds in the direction of every obsessionist who inveighed against radio mystery and crime programs as being the first cause of hysteria, delinquency, seclusive behavior, idée fixe, sexual precocity, nail-biting, nightmare, enuresis, profanity, and other antisocial ills of juvenile America, saw nothing wrong in thoroughly airing the depredations of the cat with sound effects, as if the sensational were rendered harmless by the mere fact of its being not fiction. It was later charged, not without justice, that a single 5-minute newscast devoted to the latest horror of the Strangler did more to shatter the nerves of the listening population than all the mystery programs of all the networks percussively put together. But by that time the mischief was done. Others fished deeper. There were certain elements in the cat's crimes, they said, which plucked universal chords of horror. One was the means employed. Breath being life, and its denial death, their argument ran, the pattern of strangulation was bound to arouse the most basic fears. Another was the haphazard choice of victims, selection by caprice, they termed it. Man, they stated, faces death most equably when he thinks he is to die for some purpose. But the cat, they said, picked his victims at random. It reduced the living to the level of the subhuman, and gave the individual's extinction no more importance or dignity than the chance crushing of an ant. This made defenses, especially moral defenses, impossible. There was nowhere to hide. Therefore, panic. And still a third factor, they went on, was the total lack of recognition. No one lived who saw the terrorizer at his chill and motiveless work. He left no clues to his age, sex, height, weight, coloration, habits, speech, origin, even to his species. For all the data available, he might well have been a cat, or an incubus. Where nothing was to be perceived, the agitated imagination went berserk. The result was a thing come true. And the philosophers took the worldview, opening casements to the great panorama of current events. Weltanschauung, they cried. The old oblate spheroid was wobbling on its axis, trying to resist stresses, cracking along faults of strain.